Breaking news on the KRON4 Morning News, a tragedy near our nation's capital. This morning, officials announcing no survivors after a plane carrying 64 people collided with an Army helicopter while it was attempting to land at Reagan National Airport. This video shows that flash of light, the moment of the collision. The president addressing the nation this morning just moments ago.
I speak to you this morning in an hour of anguish. On behalf of the First Lady, myself, and 340 million Americans, our hearts are shattered alongside yours.
I haven't heard much. I got off work and I came straight here to be with my friends.
This morning, we all share in a profound sense of grief.
We don't believe there are any survivors.
A live look now at the Potomac River as crews are continuing their recovery mission this morning. We're breaking down everything you need to know.
Now, live from the Bay Area's local news station, KRON4 News at 9 begins with breaking news.
And we're on top of that breaking news near the nation's capital right now. Families in mourning. The American Airlines passenger jet collided with an Army Black Hawk helicopter. Everyone on board both aircrafts was killed. That's 67 people, and we are continuing our live coverage. I'm Daria Folsom.
And I'm James Fletcher. First responders there on the Potomac confirming 60 passengers and 4 crew were on that commercial airplane. 3 soldiers were on the Black Hawk helicopter. That crash happening a little before 9 o'clock Eastern time last night as that passenger plane was inbound, coming in for a landing at Reagan National Airport there in D.C. This is video from the Earth Cam there at the Kennedy Center, the observation deck. It's right across the Potomac from Reagan National, and here you'll see that flash of light, the moment of impact there, and the debris falling into the Potomac. Right now, first responders are there on the water. Flights in and out of that airport resumed at about 8 o'clock this morning, our time.
And we will have much more live coverage on what's going on and bring you the very latest. But first, we want to get a look at the weather and traffic this Thursday morning. John?
Thank you. We are looking outside at a little bit of low stratus across the Bay Area this morning, much as we saw yesterday at this same time. So a bit of an overcast start, but a mild start. Here's your view at the Embarcadero. Skies out there are clear enough at the surface, so you're doing all right. Not a lot of fog to be talking about. Temperatures in the 40s to 50s currently. We started the morning this way, and we're going to be pretty level today. Oakland, you're at 57 right now. That's about where you're going to stay into the afternoon. As we make our way through the afternoon, do expect those mid to upper 50s. Partly cloudy skies, cloudier especially towards sunset tonight as we get ready for some rain kicking off tomorrow morning. Raina.
All right, John, thank you for that. Let's get you moving out there. If you are going to be traveling, hitting the roads right now, things are still fairly busy. 13 minutes on the Bay Bridge, well, no accidents there. 14 along the San Mateo. Your Richmond-Summerfeld Bridge hovering around 11 minutes. And the Golden Gate Bridge, 37 at the tolls, 31-minute ride. Daria James, back to you.
All right, thank you, Raina. 9:02 and back to our nation's capital. You're looking live here at the Potomac and the wreckage of the Black Hawk helicopter that went down after crashing with a American Airlines jet. 67 people were killed. At last check, our live reporter in D.C. had said that 27 bodies so far had been recovered from the water.
Yeah, that plane coming in again from Wichita, carrying a number of people on board. We heard from the president earlier that people from various nations were represented on that plane. We know that there was members of a figure skating team, several teams as a matter of fact, along with friends and family. And those families being notified this morning, that plane crashing as it was coming in to land at 8:55 there at Reagan National Airport. And President Trump addressed the nation this morning in the wake of the disaster. And here's a portion of what he had to say.
On behalf of the First Lady, myself, and 340 million Americans, our hearts are shattered alongside yours, and our prayers are with you now and in the days to come. We'll find out how this disaster occurred, and we'll ensure that nothing like this ever happens again. The FAA and the NTSB and the U.S. military will be carrying out a systematic and comprehensive investigation.
Now, the president went on to say that previous administrations' DEI policies could have played a role in this tragic crash. Of course, none of that has been verified yet.
I put safety first. Obama, Biden, and the Democrats put policy first. The FAA's diversity push includes focus on hiring people with severe intellectual and psychiatric disabilities. That is amazing. And then it says FAA says people with severe disabilities are most underrepresented segment of the workforce, and they want them in, and they want them. They can be air traffic controllers. I don't think so.
As you saw live on our air, that went on for about an hour, the press conference where the president spoke, and he said that maybe in an hour or so we would get the names of some of the people who lost their lives in that tragic accident.
So we have our Washington correspondent Vinay Simlot. He's reporting from the airport this morning on where the investigation stands.
The flash over the Potomac River shows the deadly crash of an American Airlines flight and a military helicopter.
Do I think this was preventable? Absolutely.
Both President Donald Trump and Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy say the crash could have been avoided, but wouldn't say why. The American Airlines CRJ 700, operated by PSA Airlines, was on final approach to Reagan National Airport. The Transportation Secretary says on a normal flight path. The military helicopter, Secretary Duffy says, was also flying a standard flight path, and the helicopter knew the passenger plane was there. The American Airlines CEO says the commercial flight crew was experienced.
We don't know why the military aircraft came into the path of the PSA aircraft.
Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth says the military crew was also experienced on a yearly nighttime training flight.
We anticipate that the investigation will quickly be able to determine whether the aircraft was in the corridor and at the right altitude at the time of the incident.
D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser says the NTSB is now leading the investigation. In southwest Washington, D.C., police cruisers escorted the vans from the recovery site. From a crash, D.C. fire officials believe nobody survived.
These responders found extremely frigid conditions. They found heavy wind. They found ice on the water.
And like we said, that we are waiting to find out who was on the plane. We do know that there were some ice skaters, and we actually, there was a reporter at the airport who saw some family and friends of some of the victims going to the airport.
Yeah, and had a talk with him as he was rushing to find out more information.
Tell me again, sir, who was on the flight that you know of? My daughter's best friend and her mom. Ice skating. She's an ice skater. Based in Kansas, yeah. Yeah. She was on a athletic trip. She was on an athletic trip. Yeah.
And based in Kansas, yeah?
Yes. Yeah.
And what do you think of what you've heard?
I haven't heard much. I got off work and I came straight here to be with my friends. So.
Yeah. A time of great distress.
Yeah. Thank you.
Horrible and affecting so many people to have lost 67 lives in this crash. It affected a lot of people who were flying as well as they shut down Reagan National, and flights resumed there at 8 a.m. our time.
Yeah, we have KRON4's Joey Horta. He's standing by live at Oakland International, talking with travelers this morning as everybody's processing what happened. Joey.
Yeah, James and Daria, this is not the kind of thing people want to hear about before they board a flight, but that's what's happening now. These people are in line for airport security, moving through that. Some tell us they have been paying closer attention, or will be, to the safety demonstrations done by flight attendants before they take off. Others praying for a safe trip. Thoughts and prayers for the victims, something we're seeing a lot of today on social media and here at the airport as well. Here's what passengers are telling us before boarding their flights.
When I heard it, it reminded me of the aircraft that went down in the Hudson.
Well, it's tragic, so sad, and it happens and we learn. I feel pretty safe.
I make sure I read it. I make sure I know where the exit doors are, everything that's like that.
I pray for safety for us. I pray for the pilot. I pray that we'll all be safe from takeoff to landing.
American Airlines does not fly out of Oakland. There aren't any flights from Washington, D.C. to Oakland this morning either. There is, though, a flight from D.C. to SFO, which is expected to land any moment now. That's the latest here from Oakland. Joey Horta, KRON4 News.
All right, thank you, Joey. It's been almost 16 years since we had a major U.S. aircraft crash here in the U.S.
Yeah, at least by a U.S. carrier. Now, the recent deadliest crashes, we'll go through the list. So there was that 2009 crash. That one was on February 12th of 2009 near Buffalo, New York. 45 passengers and 4 crew members killed there by Colgan Air. That was flight 3407. It was from Newark Liberty International Airport when it suffered some mechanical issues. There was some icing on the wings. The NTSB launched their investigation and released the report a year later, identifying the pilot's response to that situation as a probable cause for the crash. And that included fatigue, impairing both the captain and the first officer's performance. Families of the victims took to Congress to enact more safety regulations.
And then here at home, in July 6th of 2013, 291 passengers and 16 crew were beginning their final descent to SFO after a 10-hour flight from Seoul, South Korea, and they ended up crashing on the runway there. That was Asiana Flight 214, went into the seawall, and the aircraft spun out of control, burst into flames. 182 of the 304 people on board were injured, and 3 people were killed. The NTSB ruled that crash was likely caused by pilot error and an overly complicated system installed in the plane by Boeing, which the pilots did not know how to use properly. That led to a change in how aircraft rescue personnel responded to emergencies as well. And then we take a look here at the most recent crash, which happened about 9 o'clock last night, and that's D.C. time, when the chopper and the plane collided over the Potomac on landing as they were approaching the Reagan National Airport. And you can see that's the wreckage of the chopper. So they're investigating the wreckage, as the NTSB does. And as the president said, it takes a long time, usually at least a year, for them to decide what happened. In the meantime, all we can do is just have so much feeling and sympathy and mourn those who lost their lives, 67 people, and we're waiting to hear more about those people this morning.
All right, 9/11 is the time. In local headlines now, San Jose police arrested a man from Livermore for what they say is using an online chat program to meet underage boys. Now, they say that 53-year-old Alfonso Ramirez met up with one of those minors in an empty parking lot and assaulted him. Police say this happened back in December of 2024. On January 23rd, police found Ramirez and arrested him. Meanwhile, a Redwood City school is back open after being on lockdown yesterday. Police responded to North Star Academy after receiving reports from school staff that a man had arrived there claiming he was being pursued by another man with a gun, and that the gunman had run through the campus at about 1:30 p.m. Police identified the man who made the claims as 32-year-old Eddie Gonzalez Garcia, who, upon interviewing, was suspected of being under the influence of stimulants, leading to his arrest. Officers determined his claim was false. The school was in lockdown for less than an hour before everything was declared safe.
9:12 is the time right now. We'll continue our live coverage of the plane and helicopter that collided in Washington, D.C. We have live reporters in D.C. and at the San Francisco and Oakland airports. We'll be right back.